Mic check 1 2. It's the Y2K collector, and if you don't have enough time or a lot of time for that matter to game hunt during the week, it means that weekends are super important. And it really means that you got to maximize either your Saturday or your Sunday. Now, obviously, if you've got a family and things like that, you want to make sure that you're dedicating at least a day to spending some time with your family, getting some rest, catching up, preparing yourself for the following week. But if you are one of those folks like me who really has limited time, you really want to try and maximize one of those days. Now, I personally, if I can, I try to make my game hunting day a Saturday just because stores are open longer on Saturday than Sunday, which gives me more of a window to hit multiple spots. Now it's wintertime, so the likelihood of there being any real like yard sales or anything that I can, get up early for are going to be slim to none. In the summer, it's a little bit different. You could probably start your game hunting maybe around 6-ish, 7-ish in the morning, but in the wintertime, you're pretty much just regulated to whatever time the stores near you open. And for me, most places that I might go to get video games, they don't open until close to like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. So one of the things that I like to do like early in the morning is I try to hit like all of the like thrift and like Goodwills and things like that. I try to get to those places as early as possible because usually the pickings are kind of slim. And if you're not like first in line or if you're not one of the first people there, usually the good stuff is gone within like 5 minutes. So if I look and it's like a Saturday and I know that I'm not going to be able to be one of the first people in line to my local Goodwill or thrift store, I just in most cases don't even bother because I know by the time I get there, there's pretty much going to be nothing there that's worth even looking at. But if I can make it there to where I am one of the first people on time, then or first people on the line, then I'll definitely go ahead and try to hit those stores first. From there, it depends on what I find there. A lot of times, like I'll find good stuff that I want to keep in my collection, but then other times I'll find good stuff that maybe I already have in my collection that I can use as like a trade piece, or I'll just find pieces that are cool but not necessarily my speed, but are so cheap they're worth picking up so that I can use them for a trade piece. So if it's a day where I'm just doing game hunting and I'm not doing any trading, I'll just hit the Goodwills and the yard sales first, and then like pick up whatever I can find, and then from there I'll move on to like my GameStops. The reason why I hit GameStop second is because especially on Saturdays like that or Sundays, those are days where parents are off and they're typically taking their kids to GameStop on those days to get controllers, whatever, things like that. And I try to beat the mid-morning rush when all the parents are there trying to get all their kids, their stuff. I also like going to GameStop when it's pretty empty because then it gives me, time to kind of sift through and sort through like the things that I want. It also gives me time to talk with the employees and see if they've got anything behind the counter worth looking at. I'm also able to ask if they've got anything coming off trade hold. So it's just easier when it's empty. Now, there's two types of Saturdays. There's Saturdays where all you're doing is you're just out hunting. But then there's also the Saturday or Sunday where you're also doing trades. If I have like a box of trades with me, then I'll try to hit all of like the Goodwills, the thrift stores, the GameStops, and then I'll attack some retro stores. While I'm going to all of those places, not only am I looking for things that I can find, but I'm also looking for things that I can add to the box that I already have for trade. And then I'll save my mom and pop game stores for second to last. Because what I'm going to do then is I'm going to take a lot of the games that I have for trade, everything that's in my war chest, and then I'm going to go hit the mom and pop shops. And I'll start my shopping there by just trading in everything that I have for trade so that I can start shopping there with like a bunch of trade credit and use that towards picking up, miscellaneous items that I may not have in my collection. Mom and pop shops are definitely good for like the stuff that I know that I'm not going to find at a GameStop, or the stuff that I know will be next to impossible to find at like a thrift store or a Goodwill. Because whenever you find like really rare or like obscure things at like a Goodwill or a mom and pop shop, usually that's like you hit the lottery. It's not expected unless that place is known for consistently having good like solid stuff. I just count it as me being lucky and move on. But just going back to the mom and pop shops, once I'm done with the mom and pop shops, the place that I save for last, or the places that I save for last, are the big box retailers, if I decide to even go to them at all. And that's going to be like Target, Best Buy, Walmart. I usually save those places for the end of a game hunting day, just because there's really no like massive rush for those types of stores. They're big box retailers, so usually they have plenty of stock of whatever games they have in stock. There's never really any like time sensitive mad dash rush to get to those places. So that's why I typically leave those places for the end of the day, because I know that I can, kind of find what I want, at that time. So it's really kind of like my way of just maximizing the day. Obviously, there's other things that you can slide in between there. Like if you really want to kind of maximize the day, you could probably go on like your local Facebook marketplace the day before or a couple days before and see what's out there, and then try to coordinate with anyone that you're able to make deals with to pick up a game in between, your game hunting and things like that. I know a lot of people try to do things like that. I know one of the places that I didn't mention were pawn shops in this video, and that's just because pawn shops on the East Coast are rough, right? You're really not gonna find a lot of good pawn shops that are going to be willing to give you like sick deals out here on the East Coast. Everybody's a hustler, everybody's trying to maximize the dollar, so the odds of you being able to get something at a really cheap price just isn't typically going to happen out here. And even when I see a lot of game hunting videos online, I rarely ever see anyone coming to New York to buy video games. I'll give props to Phoenix Resale. Shout out to him for trying to game hunt here. I think when he came to New York to buy, this dude's collection. I can't remember his name. RGT 85. That's who it was. He came to New York to buy RGT 85's collection like a year or two ago. And while he was here, he tried to do some game hunting. So, I mean, that makes sense. He was trying to kill two birds with one stone, but I'm sure he quickly realized like how expensive it is out here. And really kind of like outside of him, he's the only outsider, like non-New Yorker that I've seen. Well, I take that back. There have been other people who've come to New York to look for games. Like I think Beat 'em Ups came here, a few other people, but they don't really get in the trenches. They typically go to like the big name like mom and pop shops like J&L Gaming close to Times Square. They might hit up a few like Brooklyn video game stores, but they're not like getting into the trenches of New York. They're not hitting up like all the spots on Long Island. They're not, going into Yonkers, Westchester, the Bronx. It's a lot, trying to navigate your way around the city is a lot. So I don't expect them to, and it gets pretty expensive too, especially, I mean, like whether you're driving or not, just paying the tolls in New York, literally to go from like Brooklyn to Manhattan or from the Bronx to Queens. I mean, you're paying like, 20 something dollars in tolls, so it gets a little expensive. So it's a little bit more challenging in New York. You do have to be a little bit more deliberate. You kind of have to plan and map things out here, but I'm sure it's easier in other states for you to kind of map that out and kind of tag like 100 stores in one day. But that's usually the strategy that I'm going to go with. I'm getting ready to see what I can do tomorrow. It's going to be a busy weekend. It's jam-packed. It's Valentine's Day weekend. So we'll see what happens. I'm making this video early in the day just in case I don't get a chance to make another video, because it will be a busy day for me. But let me know what you guys got planned on for today, for this weekend, what kind of game hunting you're going to be doing, and I'll catch you in the next video. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.